What's going on, Jeromes? It's a beautiful Sunday, and Vikings rookies are reporting to training camp and want to fire up a Q&A. So thank you, everyone who submitted questions. If you're wondering where to submit questions, we intermittently put out a call for Qs in the community tab, so you'll be able to check that out and submit. There we go. Hey, remember when we started videos with a sip of coffee back in the day? That was good times, man. First up, Sean Johnson. How do you think the current writer strike will affect the league's plans for the upcoming season? The script is in. Traveler. During the draft, we know GMs index higher on certain candidate factor scores. When talking about players you like through the draft, what do you focus on? So this is super simplistic since I'm not a scout, not an evaluator. I'm just a fan of the draft. But can the guy play? And does the guy like playing? That's really what it comes down to, where I know you're betting on traits a lot, but can this guy actually play his position? And also, as opposed to focusing on what this guy can't do, what can he do? And you're not going to have 53 superstars all up the roster, but can a guy come in and be a capable backup at a position and play some good special teams? That role has value, right? Or is the guy going to have an attitude about it and just not want to fill that role? It's also a possibility. Traveler. Out of all of Kwesi's second-year draft picks through fifth round, who do you think is least likely to break out this year? Seen Booth, Ingram, Asamoah, Evans, Atamoa, or Chandler? I guess maybe health-wise, Booth. I'm not really banking on health with him, but I think that all of them do have a chance to take a major step forward this year, especially Lewis Cine, especially Ed Ingram, especially Asamoah, especially Atamoa, too. I think that he's a stud. Next, the anonymous Juan, planning on going to any Vikings home games this year? If not, are you planning on streaming them like last year? Not any home games. We're always in the lab with a pen and a pad. I mean, we could do more in-game streams. I've generally liked just sort of prepping notes for the end of games, but yeah, maybe we should do in-game streams and go from there, man. Next up is Eric Anderson. Do you think Josh Metellus will play well enough to earn an extension and be paired with Lewis Cine for 2024 and beyond? It's a possibility. I don't think that Metellus is going to play himself into like significant money, but I think that if he shows himself to be a very important part of this defense, and maybe Brian Flores sticks around for more than 1 year, I think that's certainly a possibility. Connor Keck. How worried are you about Hunter not being extended, not showing up for training camp? It's down to the wire. Veterans report on Tuesday. I do think something will get done. Maybe it won't be on Tuesday per se, but I think something will get done. Denny Dush, have you ever or would you ever consider doing a fantasy football rankings video for the NFL? And do you play fantasy? I do play fantasy. Not as much as I used to, which frankly is better because I used to be in like 9-10 leagues, but I pared it down to 2 or 3. But rankings, I'm not smart enough to do like a rankings video. There's much smarter people than I. Justin Strudel, if 99 won't be here this season, is there any defensive end, edge rusher, free agents on the market you'd want, or would you rather the Vikings save money at other positions? Bring in Unique the freaking Ngakoue as a 1-year mercenary deal. I think he'd be better suited as a stand-up outside linebacker, but I mean, you do have Davenport, you do have Wanham, you do have Jones, you do have Carter the second. So no, Juan. For how bad Ed Ingram played last year, do you see anyone beating him out his first starting spot during camp? Reed couldn't last year, but Udo back at guard perhaps. No, I think Oli Udo needs to only play right tackle, and with Brian O'Neill. They're being very cautious with him and his Achilles, and I think that's one of the reasons why they re-signed Oli Udo on a relatively large 1-year deal. But right tackle. The guard experiment did not work out. Him playing left tackle did not work out. But no, I don't see anyone beating out Ed Ingram. But also, I do think that Ingram played relatively well towards the end of last season. Dirk Booker. What's your all-time Viking starting lineup? Offense, defense, punter, and kicker. We actually did homework on this one. So for offense, Tarkenton at QB, Adrian at running back, Boom Boom Bill Brown at fullback. Then you got Moss, Carter. I put Jefferson as receiver 3. Now, you could say historically maybe Anthony Carter, sure, but I mean JJ is already there, man. He's already there. Steve Jordan is the only answer at tight end. Offensive line, so Yeri, McDaniel, Tingelhoff, Hutch, and then Corey Stringer. My guy. Now, you could have... Obviously, Corey Stringer is a little bit sentimental. Maybe you go Tim Irwin, or maybe even go Brian O'Neill at that spot. But also, if we could just get McDaniel and Hutch, and again, I know they both played left guard, but whatever. I mean, right now in their prime, come on, man. Defensive line, so I went with the 4-3. So you got Eller and Dolman on the edge. You could have put Jim Marshall. You could put Jared Allen in there as well. I wouldn't be mad. Then defensive interiors, you got John Randall and Alan Page. Pretty easy. 3 off-ball linebackers. You got Scott Studwell. I mean, there's games Scott Studwell had like 30 tackles. Legitimately. Matt Blair, stud back in the day. Chad Greenway. Even though things weren't great at the end, I mean, Chad Greenway in his prime was a bad dude. Bad dude, man. 3 corners. So you got Winfield. Going to be playing the slot as well. You got Carl Lee, a little bit underrated. Xavier Rhodes. Peak Xavier Rhodes, he was one of the best corners in the league, but problem was his peak wasn't very long. Safety-wise, you got Krause, Harrison, and you got Joey Browner in there. And then you got Coxberger, which... appetizing. But Fred Cox, a kicker. You could have said Fuad Reves, sure. And then I went with Mitch Berger, the Snickers in the shoe. That's what did it as the punter. You could have gone Greg Coleman, sure. But Mitch did have better numbers throughout his career. So there you go. That's our all-time team. Let's see what else. Merle. That's a name that is underused. I mean, because like back in the day, there's lots of Merles like rolling around. But all right, so some famous Merles: Merle Haggard, Merle from The Walking Dead, played by Michael Rooker. Michael Rooker, by the way. So Michael Rooker from The Walking Dead, Guardians of the Galaxy, etc. He is the voice doppelganger of Mike Zimmer. Go listen. Go look it up, man. But what's your opinion on college overtime rules? And do you think the NFL should implement something similar? So I don't like that they scaled it down. Well, obviously, like college overtime was kind of silly back in the day, where it turned into sort of like a scrimmage. But I'm actually okay with that if everyone knows the rules going in. But I don't like that they reduced it now, just basically just to like a 2-point conversion drill. That's not football. Like, it doesn't take into account field position. Doesn't take into account most of the third phase. So, yeah. Go back to the old college overtime rules, where games that would finish regulation tie 2020 would finish like 72 to 70. It'd be great. Our Robs, would you rather see JJ being traded to the Packers or Aaron Rodgers join the Vikings? I guess I would rather see Rodgers join the Vikings, because JJ join the Packers, like, I mean, Jefferson has like 12, 13 years of a prime left. That would be haunting. That would not be good. Taylor Green, what do you think of ESPN's future power rankings next 3 years, where the Vikings are ranked 23rd and last in the NFC North? Baloney. I need to find that. 3-year power rankings. I need to find that. I need to yell about it. User. Could any runbacks on our current roster supplant Madison as RB1 by the end of the season? I think Ty Chandler has a lot. I think that he certainly has some giddy up. I think that he can run between the tackles, as evidence from preseason, and I think that he is a lot of fun. I think the Kamara comparisons are pretty easy, since they both went to Tennessee at various points in their careers. But see a little bit of Jamal Charles in terms of his stride, in terms of his vision. I mean, Ty Chandler could be really, really good, man. He could. Zaragoza. Will you put up a throwback memory vid of your reaction to the Minneapolis Miracle? We can do that. Got to find it. Marcus. How much per year might KJ's market value be on his X contract? Well, I don't remember off the top of my head who's going to be free agents in this upcoming wide receiver free agent cycle, but I mean, the limit sets this year, so it would be like Juju, getting like $11 million per year. I don't know. Jacoby Myers getting like $11 million per year. and those guys are pretty firmly wide receiver twos. So, I mean, if KJ shows up and shows out, has a 1,000-yard season, I could see him getting 10, 11 million per year. Aaron Kine, sure. NFL needs to implement some CFL rules, players in motion, kickoff rules. What do you think? Just play 12 on 12 because CFL plays 12 on 12, right? But yeah, players in motion where there could be multiple players in motion, and also a player can be moving towards the line of scrimmage. That would be pretty sweet. Not gonna lie, man. Imagine if the player moving towards the line of scrimmage isn't a receiver, but it's like the fullback, just getting ready to hammer down, man. That'd be pretty sweet. Jacob Householder. We play the Eagles week 2, Tuesday Night Football. Do you see us looking past the Bucs week 1 and blowing it? No. I don't think Kevin O'Connell would allow that. Blue-eyed Chippewa. Are the Vikings pretenders or contenders for a Super Bowl run this season? I think they're certainly contenders, especially based on what's going on in the NFC. So the Eagles will be there. The Niners will be tough if they can figure out who their quarterback is going to be. I'm not buying the Lions. And who else are you really scared of in the NFC? No one. Juan. Why do you think the media jackals have always had it in for the Vikings? The disrespect, the disregard, I don't know. I think it's more... It's been easy just to crap on the Vikings because some years maybe they deserved it. And it's the whole reinforcement thing. It's like on social media, like why do people post pictures of their butt? Because it gets engagement. And I'm sure at some point the media felt like, hey, us crapping on the Vikings and us building up some national teams like the Steelers or the Cowboys or the Patriots or the Packers, that gets us ratings, that gets us clicks, that gets us eyeballs. And I think they just stuck with it. So it sucks. D. Knowles. I'm going to Viking training camp for the first time ever August 5th. Will you be attending or have any advice? We got a hotel in downtown Minneapolis. Any advice? Try to get there early and try and get the shade seats. Or I don't know what the ticketing policy is off the top of my head this year, but yeah, try and get the shade. So try and get on the far, was it Land O'Lakes side? Yeah, because like the end zone bleachers are in complete sun. So try and get on one of the sidelines or the far sideline. And then other than that, like the museum is cool as a one-time thing. It's a little bit expensive, but go ahead and do that. And I know, like TCO is cool. It is. And also it's good to see the walkthroughs. I don't know. I assume they still do the walkthroughs in the actual stadium. So I believe that's the earlier part of the day before they practice. Talk about practice, man. But yeah, it's a fun experience. It's a fun pilgrimage. It's almost like end of summer camp. So there you go. It was more fun in Mankato. Let's be honest. Eric Hansen. What if Red McCombs had moved the team? Would we have the Raiders here or no team at all? What would you be doing without the Vikings? If McCombs had successfully moved the team to San Antonio, because the Texans were already in place when McCombs was trying to do his thing. I would say, I don't know if it'd be the Raiders. Like maybe the Rams would have moved from St. Louis to Minnesota. That would have made the most sense. So it'd be the Minnesota Rams. I don't know, man. I don't know. But I guess it would be blue and gold for the win. FTW. Let's see here. Eric Peters, do you remember when and what your first YouTube video was? I really don't. But the YouTube used to be like an offshoot because we would just do the audio version of the podcast and then would just put it up on YouTube. And then it started getting traction. So I don't remember this first specific like video. We should look that up. Actually, I think I can look that up all the way back. Is Kirk is Kirk the best quarterback? Is Kirk at his best the best quarterback in the NFC? I mean, at his best, sure. Jalen Hurts is also really damn good, and specifically in that Eagles offense. But yeah, Kirk at the height of his powers, yes. Jazz Herd, how patient should the fan base be about Booth, Sean, and Ingram? I would say 2 years. So this is a really important year for them, especially since Booth and Sean could be healthy this year and should be able to crack the lineup or get some time. And Ed Ingram in year 2. I mean, this is make or break, man. Rick, odds of the Vikings win the Super Bowl, 50-50. 50-50 with crystal ball. Either it happens or it doesn't. Chase Essex, if offered a job for the Vikings Entertainment Network, would you take it? Probably not, because here's the thing. Like, if you work for a team's creative department, like, you have to toe the company line, and it is what it is. Like, you're basically an extension of the PR branch, but I enjoy calling a spade and be able to talk ish when I want to, and you can't do that if you work for a team. Diego said, should the Vikings be interested in Saquon? No. Zach Martin? Yes. Why or why not? Saquon, no. Zach Martin, yes. That is all. It's all straight up. Duke of Awesomeness. How would you order our running back depth chart? I would go Madison, Chandler, King Kene, and McBride for now. Madstrosity. Do you think Danielle will go back to DN? I think that if he is in the Vikings defense this year with Flores, I think that he will have more of a hand-in-the-dirt defensive end role than last year, where he was primarily a stand-up outside linebacker, because we talked about Trey Flowers' role before in the Flores defense, where they won a Super Bowl back on the day, especially that 2018 Patriots team. So I think that Flores will find a way with Danielle. George M. I'm guessing Cam will get cut this year. Any thoughts? Cam Beasley? Probably not. He's been running with the ones during OTAs. I don't necessarily see him supplanted. Mainly, well, people complain. It's like, well, how come Lewisine can't even beat out Cameron Bynum? They're two completely different safeties, stylistically. I think that Beasley and... Actually, Beasley's sort of unique in the safety room. But I do think that Cine and Harrison have a lot more overlap, and I think that Cine was drafted to replace Harrison. And if Lewisine was fully healthy last year, maybe they just cut Harrison Smith this offseason. I think that was a possibility. I think that was part of Kwesi's plans. Daniel Bailey Prickett. Where does Dalvin end up? Is he capable of swallowing his pride and come back to Minnesota? I think he ultimately ends up with the Jets. Yeah. Are you nervous about a JJ extension? What does that look like long term? I would ideally like to get it done this offseason, but even if it goes to the next offseason, it's not that big of a deal. The only problem is it's going to grow in terms of cost as he's a year closer to free agency, and he'll have another fantastic year of production underneath his belt. So, yeah. Jeff Mayer, pay Cook the money you promised him. The $2 million guaranteed. That's all that they promised him. Joshua Epner, best pizza in the Twin Cities. I've always been a Black Sheep guy. Yeah, just that. Well, everyone's trying to phase out like cold fire stuff, but I mean, Black Sheep is really good, especially the mushroom pizza. That's delightful. It is really good, man. In terms, like, I actually don't eat a ton of like pizza out because we're always just good at making pizza in house, and it's sort of our Friday night thing as a family. But I will say that in terms of like chains, Red Savoy is really good. Punch Pizza is really good. I know they get bad rap, but I always like Pizza Luce. It's really good. Or if you're going outside the Twin Cities, you're going up north, Zorba's. Duh. Institution all across northern Minnesota. God. Skull, what's the future of Kirk Cousins? I think he ultimately resigns here on a 3-year extension. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. Go-to food and or drink when watching a Vikings game. So I'm usually just ready for anything, man. So I usually don't have adult beverages like if I'm doing videos later on, although I'd sure like to. Usually it's just a lot of water, just really hydrating, usually with some electrolytes, coffee, some tea. Food-wise, I mean, we'll make up like some chili for the game day and snack on that throughout the game, or some wings, or we do a really good chicken wild rice soup. I mean, come on, we're Minnesotan after all. And lastly, Josh Williams, Danielle Hunter for Saquon Barkley. No, never. Danielle for Zach Martin. But that's it. Let us know your thoughts on our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But to next time, Skull Production Value.